You'll never get that on the radio.
I just said it either goes out in its entirety or not at all.
Thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening me.
The year is 1975. A young man sits alone at his piano in a cramped London flat, his fingers dancing across keys that have seen better days. The melody that flows from his hands sounds like nothing else on earth. Opera meets rock, ballad crashes into heavy metal. It's beautiful, it's bizarre, and according to every music expert in the world, it's commercial suicide. That young man is Freddie Mercury. The song pouring out of him will either destroy his band or make them immortal. Record executives will laugh at it. Critics will call it pretentious garbage. Radio stations will refuse to play it. But hidden inside those 6 revolutionary minutes lies a secret so powerful it will change not just Queen's destiny, but the entire music industry forever. What you're about to discover is the untold story behind the song that wasn't supposed to exist. A track born from desperation, crafted in secrecy, and released against all odds. This is the story of how 4 broke musicians bet everything on a song no one understood, a gamble that should have ended their careers but instead rewrote the rules of rock and roll. Everyone thinks they know Bohemian Rhapsody, but do they know the dark truth behind its creation? The real reason Freddie Mercury wrote those cryptic lyrics? The industry conspiracy that almost buried it forever. If you love discovering the hidden secrets behind music's greatest hits, hit that subscribe button right now, because here at Behind the Hit, we dig deeper than anyone else. We find the stories the artist never wanted you to know, the struggles behind the smiles, the pain behind the pleasure. And today you're about to learn why Bohemian Rhapsody almost never happened at all. When most people hear Bohemian Rhapsody, they think of triumph, stadium crowds singing along, a legendary rock anthem that conquered the world. But in 1975, this song represented something else entirely, the desperate last stand of a band on the brink of destruction. Queen wasn't the rock royalty we know today. They were 4 exhausted young men drowning in debt, fighting with their management, and watching their dreams slip away despite selling out concert halls across Britain. The cruel irony was heartbreaking. Thousands of fans screamed their names every night, but the band members could barely afford to eat. Behind closed doors, the pressure was crushing them. Brian May's guitar riffs couldn't pay the rent. Roger Taylor's thunderous drums couldn't silence the bill collectors. John Deacon's bass lines couldn't solve their legal nightmares. And Freddie Mercury's soaring voice couldn't sing away the growing fear that their time was running out. The music industry in 1975 had rigid rules. Radio stations demanded 3-minute hits. Record labels wanted safe, predictable songs that fit neatly into proven formulas. Anything experimental was considered box office poison. Rock musicians who dared to break these rules usually found themselves forgotten, their careers reduced to cautionary tales. Queen knew these rules. They also knew they were dying a slow death following them. Their previous albums had earned critical praise and devoted fans, but the money never seemed to reach their pockets. Manager conflicts drained their energy. Legal disputes ate their time, and with each passing month, the weight of their mounting debts grew heavier. But Freddie Mercury had a vision, a mad, impossible dream that would either save them or finish them off completely. Deep in his mind, musical fragments swirled like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle only he could see. Opera, ballad, hard rock, all woven together into something that had never been attempted before. The question wasn't whether he could create this musical monster. The question was whether the world would let him unleash it, and whether Queen would survive the attempt. For years, Freddie Mercury carries musical fragments in his head like sacred secrets. He calls them pieces of the cowboy song and scribbles notes in worn notebooks that he guards jealously. Late at night in his Kensington flat, he sits at his battered piano and plays these fragments over and over, building something that exists nowhere else in music. The other band members watch him with a mixture of fascination and concern. They've seen Freddie's theatrical instincts before, but this feels different, bigger, more dangerous. When he finally brings his vision to the band, their reactions are mixed. Brian May later describes it as unusual, but we were used to unusual with Freddie. But unusual doesn't begin to capture what Freddie is planning. He wants to create a 6-minute musical journey that changes genres mid-song, a ballad that becomes an opera that explodes into hard rock. No single chorus to grab radio listeners, no simple hook to make it easy to remember. Instead, he envisions something that sounds like a symphony disguised as a rock song. The band trusts Freddie's instincts, but they can't ignore the risks. In an industry that punishes experimentation, They're about to attempt something that breaks every rule in the book. Recording time costs money they don't have. Studio experiments feel like gambling with their last chips. Every decision carries the weight of their survival. But Freddie is relentless. He doesn't just want a hit song, he wants immortality, and he's willing to risk everything to get it. The question hanging over them isn't whether they can create this musical monster. It's whether anyone will be brave enough to release it, and whether their careers will survive the attempt. Rockfield Studios in Wales becomes their battleground. What happens inside those walls over the next several weeks will either vindicate Freddie's vision or prove that some dreams are too ambitious to survive reality. The recording process becomes unlike anything Queen has ever attempted. Freddie demands layer upon layer of vocal harmonies, building entire choirs out of just 3 voices, his, Brian's, and Roger's. They record for hours, stacking take after take until the tape reels strain under the weight of overdubs. The operatic section alone consumes days of relentless work, with Freddie orchestrating every line like a mad scientist commanding his laboratory. This isn't just music production, it's architectural construction in sound. Each vocal layer must fit perfectly with the others. Each harmony must blend seamlessly while maintaining its individual character. The technical demands push both the band and the studio equipment to their limits. The other band members begin to understand the scope of Freddie's ambition. Brian May contributes guitar work that ranges from delicate arpeggios to thunderous power chords. Roger Taylor's drums must carry the song through multiple personality changes. John Deacon's bass provides the foundation that holds this musical earthquake together, but the lyrics remain Freddie's secret. Lines like "Scaramouche," "Will you do the fandango, puzzle everyone?"
Scaramouche, Scaramouche, will you do the fandango?
Including his bandmates. When pressed for explanations, Freddie simply smiles and calls it nonsense. But those who know him best sense something deeper. Behind the playful words lies emotion too complex for simple explanations. The sessions stretch on, consuming their limited budget and testing everyone's patience. Each day brings new challenges, new technical problems, new reasons to doubt whether this experiment will work. The pressure builds with every passing hour, because they all know the truth. If this fails, it might be their last chance to create anything at all. But Freddie refuses to compromise. Every note must be perfect. Every harmony must serve the greater vision. And when anyone suggests simplifying the song to make it more commercial, his answer is always the same. Either they take it as it is, or not at all. The moment arrives. Queen has created their musical monster, and now they must present it to the people who control their fate. The band walks into their record label's offices carrying a 6-minute track that defies every convention of commercial radio. They know they're about to start a war. The label executives listen in stunned silence. 6 minutes, no clear chorus, genre changes that make no sense. When the song ends, the room erupts in disbelief. Too long for radio, they declare. Too weird for mainstream audiences. The word pretentious gets thrown around like a weapon. The label's demand is simple: cut it down to 3 minutes, make it radio-friendly. Turn this experimental nightmare into something that won't scare away listeners. For them, it's a reasonable business decision. For Freddie Mercury, it's artistic murder. The confrontation becomes heated. Freddie tells them flatly, "You either release it as it is, or not at all." The label executives can't believe what they're hearing. This isn't how the music business works. Artists don't dictate terms to record companies, especially not broke artists, whose previous albums haven't generated significant profits. The standoff grows more intense with each passing day. Millions of dollars in potential revenue hang in the balance. The band's entire future depends on this single decision. Queen has bet everything on a song that their own record label considers unreleasable, but Freddie refuses to budge. He's not just defending a song, he's defending a principle. If they compromise now, they'll spend the rest of their careers creating watered-down versions of their vision. This is their line in the sand, their moment of truth. The executives pressure them with cold business logic. Radio stations have strict time limits. Program directors won't risk their jobs on experimental music. Listeners want familiar sounds, not operatic adventures. Every argument makes perfect business sense, except for one thing they haven't considered. Sometimes the rules are wrong, and sometimes it takes one song to prove it. When conventional channels fail, revolution begins in unexpected places. Kenny Everett, a flamboyant radio DJ and close friend of Freddie Mercury, becomes the unlikely hero in this David versus Goliath story. Freddie slips him a copy of Bohemian Rhapsody with a wink and strict instructions: don't play it. Everett breaks that promise almost immediately, but he doesn't just play it once, he plays it 14 times in 2 days, creating a phenomenon that catches everyone off guard. His radio station's phone lines explode with calls from listeners demanding to know, what is that song? The underground buzz spreads like wildfire. Record stores report customers asking for a song that isn't officially released yet. Other radio DJs hear about the mysterious track and start hunting for their own copies. What the record label considers unmarketable is becoming the most talked about song in Britain, but the label executives still don't understand what's happening. They see the phone calls and requests as anomalies, not evidence of genuine demand. Their industry experience tells them that experimental 6-minute songs don't become hits. History supports their skepticism. Meanwhile, Queen watches from the sidelines as their musical gamble takes on a life of its own. They've created something so unusual that it generates its own momentum. The song's weirdness isn't a liability, it's become its greatest strength. The public's reaction reveals something the music industry has forgotten. Listeners are hungry for something different. After years of predictable 3-minute hits, Bohemian Rhapsody feels like a revelation. It challenges people's expectations and rewards their attention with musical surprises they've never heard before. But this grassroots success creates a new problem for the record label. They can no longer pretend the song is uncommercial. Public pressure is building toward an inevitable release. The question is no longer whether to release Bohemian Rhapsody, but whether they can afford not to. The revolution has begun, and it's happening exactly where revolutions always start, with the people. October 1975 arrives like a storm on the horizon. Queen and their record label stand at the point of no return. The underground buzz has grown too loud to ignore. Radio stations across Britain are fielding requests for a song that doesn't officially exist. The pressure has reached a breaking point. The label finally surrenders. Bohemian Rhapsody will be released as a single, uncut, uncompromised.
Just killed a man.
Exactly as Freddie Mercury envisioned it. The announcement sends shockwaves through the music industry. A 6-minute operatic rock song is about to test every assumption about commercial radio. Critics sharpen their knives. Music journalists predict disaster, calling the song pretentious, a joke, and career suicide. Industry experts line up to explain why this experiment will fail. The consensus is overwhelming. Queen has finally pushed their theatrical tendencies too far. Radio programmers face an impossible choice. Do they risk their careers on a song that breaks every rule they've ever followed? Or do they ignore the growing public demand and stick with safe, proven formulas? The decision splits the industry. Some stations embrace the challenge, others refuse to touch it. But something unexpected happens when Bohemian Rhapsody hits the airwaves. Listeners don't turn off their radios in confusion, they turn them up in amazement. The song that was supposed to be too complex for mainstream audiences becomes the most requested track on radio. The chart battle begins immediately. Week by week, Bohemian Rhapsody climbs higher, defying every prediction and silencing every critic. It's not just a hit, it's a phenomenon. Record stores can't keep it in stock. Radio stations play it multiple times per day to satisfy demand. Queen watches their greatest gamble transform into their greatest triumph. The broke musicians who bet everything on an impossible dream suddenly find themselves at the center of a cultural earthquake. The song that almost ended their careers is about to make them legends, but the most shocking revelation is yet to come. November 1975 becomes the month that changes everything. Bohemian Rhapsody doesn't just reach #1 on the British charts, it conquers them completely, holding the top spot for 9 consecutive weeks. This isn't just commercial success, it's cultural domination on a scale no one predicted. The numbers tell an incredible story. The song becomes the fastest-selling single in British history up to that point. It dominates charts across Europe, breaks into American markets, and proves that experimental music can achieve massive commercial success. Every music industry executive who called it unmarketable must now explain how this unmarketable song became one of the biggest hits of the decade. But the real revolution extends far beyond sales figures. Bohemian Rhapsody shatters the 3-minute rule that has governed radio for decades. Program directors who once refused to consider longer songs suddenly realize that listeners will embrace complexity if the music is compelling enough. The song opens doors for countless artists who have been trapped by commercial limitations. Queen's transformation is immediate and complete. The same executives who once laughed at their 6-minute opera now brag about their role in its success. Critics who predicted disaster suddenly discover the song's obvious genius. The band that was broke and desperate just months earlier now possesses something more valuable than money: absolute creative freedom. The success creates a ripple effect that extends throughout the music industry. Other artists begin experimenting with longer formats, unconventional structures, and theatrical elements. Bohemian Rhapsody proves that audiences are more sophisticated and adventurous than industry experts believed, but perhaps the most significant impact occurs within Queen itself. They've proven that their instincts are more reliable than conventional wisdom. From this moment forward, they'll never again be told what they can or can't do musically. The song that almost destroyed them has given them unlimited artistic license. The revolution is complete, the rules have been rewritten, and 4 musicians from London have achieved the immortality they dreamed of. The story of Bohemian Rhapsody extends beyond sound into sight, creating another revolution that few people see coming. Queen produces a promotional video for just a few £1,000s. But this simple clip becomes a template for the future of music television years before MTV exists. The video captures the song's theatrical essence perfectly. It opens with the band's faces emerging from darkness, harmonizing in an almost religious formation. Then it explodes into the operatic section with rapid cuts and double exposures that match the music's complexity. Finally, it concludes with the band rocking out in concert, bringing the musical journey full circle. This isn't just a performance video or a simple promotional tool. It's a visual interpretation of the song that enhances its impact without competing with it. The imagery serves the music rather than overwhelming it, creating a perfect marriage between audio and visual storytelling. The video's influence proves more lasting than anyone imagines. It establishes visual techniques that become standard in music videos for decades. The combination of performance footage, artistic imagery, and narrative structure creates a template that countless artists will follow. More importantly, the video helps Bohemian Rhapsody transcend the limitations of radio. Television audiences can experience the full theatrical scope of Freddie's vision. The operatic section makes visual sense when viewers can see the band's dramatic presentation. The song's complexity becomes an asset rather than a challenge. The success of both the song and its video proves that Queen understands something fundamental about entertainment. Audiences are willing to invest attention and energy in experiences that reward their engagement. Bohemian Rhapsody demands more from listeners than typical pop songs, but it gives more in return. This principle will guide Queen's career for years to come, leading to increasingly elaborate stage shows, ambitious albums, and theatrical presentations that push the boundaries of rock performance. The video for Bohemian Rhapsody is just the beginning of their visual revolution. The story of Bohemian Rhapsody doesn't end with its initial success. Instead, it begins a journey through time that proves some songs transcend their historical moment to become eternal cultural forces. The first resurrection comes in 1991 under the darkest circumstances imaginable. Freddie Mercury, the voice and soul of Queen, passes away after a private battle with AIDS. The news devastates fans worldwide, and suddenly, Bohemian Rhapsody transforms from a hit song into a hymn of remembrance. Grief drives the song back to the top of the charts across multiple countries. Fans mourn by playing those operatic harmonies, turning sorrow into a collective celebration of Freddie's genius. The track that once represented artistic rebellion now becomes a monument to artistic legacy. But the song's second life truly begins in 1992 with the release of Wayne's World, a comedy film that features one of the most iconic scenes in movie history. 4 friends headbanging in a car to Bohemian Rhapsody introduces the song to an entirely new generation 17 years after its original release. The scene is perfect in its simplicity. It captures the pure joy that great music can create, the way certain songs can turn strangers into friends and transform ordinary moments into celebrations. Wayne's World doesn't mock Bohemian Rhapsody. it honors it by showing its power to unite people across age groups and social boundaries. The film's success drives the song back onto charts worldwide. Suddenly, teenagers who weren't born in the 1970s are singing Galileo at the top of their lungs. The song that once seemed too complex for mainstream audiences becomes a sing-along anthem for a new generation. This resurrection proves something remarkable about Bohemian Rhapsody. It possesses a timeless quality that transcends generational boundaries. Each new group of listeners discovers something different in its 6 minutes of musical adventure. The song remains fresh because it contains enough complexity to reward repeated listening. The 21st century brings new challenges and opportunities for classic songs, but Bohemian Rhapsody adapts to every technological change with remarkable resilience. The rise of the internet, streaming services, and social media creates platforms that Freddie Mercury never lived to see, but his masterpiece conquers them all. YouTube becomes a particular showcase for the song's enduring power. The official video accumulates hundreds of millions of views, introducing Bohemian Rhapsody to global audiences who might never encounter it through traditional radio. Fan tributes, covers, and reaction videos multiply exponentially, each one testament to the song's continuing influence. Social media platforms witness viral challenges and memes built around Bohemian Rhapsody. The operatic section becomes particularly popular for its dramatic potential. Users create everything from elaborate choreographed performances to simple sing-alongs that demonstrate the song's universal appeal.
Nobody loves me. He's just a poor boy from a poor family, standing his life.
The 2018 release of the biographical film Bohemian Rhapsody creates another massive resurgence. The movie introduces Queen's story to viewers who may know the songs, but not the struggles behind them. Box office success translates into streaming success as audiences rediscover the band's catalog. The film's impact on the song's digital presence is extraordinary. Bohemian Rhapsody becomes the first song from the 1970s to surpass 1 billion streams, a milestone that seemed impossible just a few years earlier. The track that radio stations once considered too long and complex becomes one of the most played songs in the digital age. This success demonstrates something profound about artistic quality. Truly great songs don't fade with time. They accumulate meaning and significance across generations. Bohemian Rhapsody sounds as revolutionary today as it did in 1975 because genuine innovation never becomes outdated. The song's digital immortality proves that Freddie Mercury's gamble paid dividends beyond his wildest dreams. He wanted to create something that would outlast trends and fashion, something that would connect with human emotions across time and culture. In the digital age, that vision has been completely realized. After nearly 50 years of analysis, discussion, and interpretation, Bohemian Rhapsody retains its most essential quality, mystery. Freddie Mercury took the song's true meaning to his grave, leaving behind only cryptic comments and that sly smile he offered whenever people pressed for explanations. The lyrics continue to puzzle and fascinate new generations of listeners. Is the song autobiographical? Is it pure theater? Do lines like "Mama just killed a man" represent literal confession or artistic metaphor? Fans have spent decades analyzing every word, every phrase, every possible hidden meaning. Some interpret it as Freddie's struggle with his sexual identity in an era when such revelations could destroy careers. Others see it as a meditation on guilt, redemption, and the weight of personal secrets. Still others argue it's simply a masterpiece of nonsense, a theatrical exercise that creates emotion through sound rather than literal meaning. The beauty of this mystery is that it keeps the song alive and relevant. Each listener can find their own meaning in those 6 revolutionary minutes. The ambiguity that once frustrated critics becomes the song's greatest strength, allowing it to speak to different people in different ways across different decades. But perhaps the real secret isn't hidden in the lyrics at all. Perhaps it lies in what Bohemian Rhapsody represents, the power of artistic courage, the willingness to risk everything for a vision that exists nowhere else, the refusal to compromise when everyone else demands safety and conformity. Freddie Mercury and Queen didn't just create a hit song, they demonstrated that audiences hunger for authenticity, complexity, and genuine artistic risk-taking. They proved that the music industry's conventional wisdom about what people want is often completely wrong. The song succeeds because it treats listeners as intelligent, sophisticated people, capable of appreciating artistic ambition. It rewards attention rather than demanding simplicity. It challenges expectations rather than confirming them. Bohemian Rhapsody ultimately reveals its true meaning, not through its lyrics but through its legacy. The song that almost never existed became one of the most important cultural artifacts of the 20th century because it represents something essential about human creativity, the willingness to risk everything for artistic truth. The real story isn't about four musicians creating a hit song. It's about four artists refusing to accept limitations imposed by others. When the music industry told them what was possible, they proved those limitations were self-imposed. When critics predicted failure, they redefined success. When conventional wisdom said 6-minute songs couldn't become hits, they created the most successful unconventional song in rock history. The song's impact extends far beyond Queen's career. It opened doors for countless artists who felt trapped by commercial expectations. It proved that audiences are more adventurous and sophisticated than industry executives believed. It demonstrated that genuine artistic vision can triumph over marketing research and focus group testing. But most importantly, Bohemian Rhapsody shows that some creative risks are worth taking, regardless of potential consequences. Freddie Mercury could have played it safe, created conventional hits, and enjoyed a comfortable career within established boundaries. Instead, he chose to chase immortality. That choice transformed four broke musicians into legends. It turned a desperate gamble into cultural revolution, and it created a song that continues to inspire new generations of artists to take their own creative risks. The question isn't what Bohemian Rhapsody means. The question is what it proves: that artistic courage can triumph over commercial caution, that complexity can succeed where simplicity fails, and that sometimes the biggest risks produce the greatest rewards. Today, almost 50 years later, the song continues to find new audiences, inspire new artists, and challenge new listeners. It remains as revolutionary now as it was in 1975, because true innovation never becomes outdated. Freddie Mercury wanted immortality. He got it by refusing to compromise, by trusting his vision over everyone else's doubts, and by believing that audiences would rise to meet artistic ambition rather than settling for artistic mediocrity. The song that shouldn't have worked became the song that changed everything, and that's the real secret behind Bohemian Rhapsody. So there you have it, the untold story of how a 6-minute musical experiment almost destroyed Queen before making them immortal. A song that broke every rule and rewrote them all. A gamble that should have failed but instead changed the course of rock history. What strikes you most about this story? Is it Freddie's unwavering vision? The record label's initial blindness? The power of underground radio to change everything? Let me know in the comments below what part of this journey resonates with you. And if you want to discover more hidden stories behind music's greatest hits, subscribe right now. Because next week, we're diving into another song that almost never happened. Another artist who bet everything on a vision nobody else understood. Another moment when artistic courage triumphed over commercial cowardice. Hit that subscribe button, because the best stories in music are the ones they never wanted you to hear. And here at Behind the Hit, we're just getting started.